Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to the Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 495. I had white here and I kicked off with e4. And my opponent played d6. Bit of an unusual move, but not bad. Allows some interesting possibilities for transposition. I play d4, the main idea here, just get another pawn in the center, and he goes knight f6. So the point of the d6 move is revealed now that the pawn is slowing down the advance of the e-pawn, so the knight can safely come out to f6. I suppose I could consider pushing on, but I don't know. An early queen trade doesn't look that attractive to me. Now the normal move, just to show why this is called a Pirc defense in the description. Normally white would play knight c3 here. And then the main move is g6, and this is the typical Pirc setup. The knight comes out first, and then the bishop comes to g2. But I didn't play knight c3 here. I played a bit of a rare move, bishop d3. But the thing is, I don't know if I want the pawn to go to c3 or c4. And if the knight's on c3, it's blocking the pawn. So I always, I always try to work with this move, bishop d3, defending the pawn that way. And then delaying the decision on the c-pawn, what it does, rather than blocking it with the knight. But this allows the interesting possibility. Now the main move is not g6 anymore, but it's e5. And this is transposed into a Philidor defense, where I've played bishop d3, a bit of a rare move in the Philidor. But anyway, if we go back after knight c3 in this line, you can see that in addition to g6, e5 is the second choice. So you can also play a Neo-Philidor from this position too, although it's still probably classified as a Pirc defense because of the move order. But anyway, that's not what happened in the game. Let's go with the game. I played bishop d3. He went e5, and then I went knight f3. So c3 immediately maybe is a little bit more precise, because with the pawn on c3, you're prepared to take back with a pawn and maintain the big center. I went knight to f3. And yeah, he could take now and get rid of one of my center pawns and have kind of a half-open center. And that's probably a way towards equalizing with black. Not a bad way to play. He goes bishop g4, though. That's also a respectable way to play, and now I get in the move c3. So let's just look at the notation from here on. I think this is a reasonable position where white's just a little bit better with a little more space in the center. I don't quite believe the evaluation of the chess engine there. Knight bd7, h3 kicking the bishop drops back, and then I go bishop g5, getting my bishop out. He plays bishop e7, setting up some potential tactics along this file. So for example, if I were to push on with d5, he can immediately take on d5, and that protects his bishop and threatens my bishop. So so he actually wins a pawn that way. So d5 immediately is not a good idea. Just keep developing with knight bd2. You can see I could have castled there as well. This is all okay for me. He castles. Now I should probably just castle here, keeping some typical opening edge. I go queen c2. At some point, black pretty much equalizes, and I think it's right around here. Yeah, so queen c2. He plays here, and now I castle. And he goes h6, kicking my... No, he doesn't play that. He played c5 immediately. Let's cancel that. Looking at the wrong, looking at the wrong display. So maybe here I still have an edge. Okay, d takes e5. He takes with the knight, and I keep taking. Knight takes, pawn takes. Yeah, I still have this kind of funny bishop that's closed in here, but the engine still likes my position. That's interesting. I mean, knight c4 seems like a good post for the knight. And he goes queen c7, rook f to e1. Sorry, not that rook, this rook. Getting my rook out on an open file, or half open at least. What is the engine saying? The engine is saying a4 immediately. Yeah, later on, or not too far from now, he starts getting some activity with his queenside pawn, so a4 is a nice preemptive strike. I was kind of wondering where I lost my advantage. So it seems like I've kept my opening advantage through this point of the game. But starting here, maybe rook f e1, he throws in the move b5, kicking my knight. And let's see, it says knight e3. I went with knight to d2. I was thinking, well, maybe it wants to reroute to f3, but knight to e3. Yeah, that's a good move. It looks like it's looking on these light squares here, both of which are potentially good squares for the knight. Yeah, so knight e3 would be a better move. Knight d2. So this is the move that where I give up the advantage. He kicks the bishop with c4. Let's back up and see. Could he have played c4 anyway? Say I'd gone knight e3. He plays c4, kicking the bishop. Bishop drops back to e2. This bishop goes to g6. Okay, and now the idea is to trade off here on f6 and then pop the knight into d5. So getting rid of the competition for the d5 square, the challenger to the d5 square, and parking this knight on a good square. And that's the way for white to maintain the advantage. So this is the point where I give up the opening advantage, this knight d2 move. Interesting. Okay, cancel that. I played knight d2. He went c4, kicking my bishop, dropped the bishop back to e2, and he dropped his bishop to g6. Not wanting to trade that bishop, but putting some pressure on my center. So actually black has a pretty comfortable game now. He has more space on the queenside, and he keeps a little bit of an edge, or in the range of about even, for quite a while here. Let's see. I go with bishop f3, showing up my center pawn here. He goes knight h5. He's got a good square on f4 here for his knight. I dropped this bishop back to e3. I didn't want it getting cut off on the wrong side. Plus, it was being challenged. I want to maintain the bishops for a while. He goes bishop to c5. He wants to trade the bishop. So at this point, I decide to start trading stuff here. I thought of my bishops, this one on f3 is probably the least useful. So I thought I would go ahead and trade it for the knight before it becomes a problem. Before the knight becomes a problem, he takes back. And I'm just leaving this bishop here. If he wants to trade my dark squared bishop, it'll help me develop my rook, and I won't be giving up the bishop pair. Right now I have given up the bishop pair, actually. So he could just move his bishop away and have the advantage of the bishop pair, but this dark squared bishop might not be such a great piece behind his pawn in the center. Anyway, now I play a4, trying to undermine these center pawns. And looks like the game is in the range of about even again. Back in the range of about even. A takes b5. For a while, black had a little something, I guess. Takes b5 and b3. I just wanted to kind of weaken these pawns over here to give my pieces some targets. He chooses this moment to trade off the bishop. Okay, so that's where black gets back the edge. Let's look at this. So it didn't like the move b3. Knight f1. Okay, the engine wants to reroute the knight to a better square. That makes sense. Knight's not doing a whole lot on d2. But, well, b3 was my way of trying to make sense of the knight position, too, because the knight is helping to put pressure on these pawns. But black can adequately defend them. He just made a mistake in a few moves. Let's see. He takes. I take. Drops his bishop back to g6 again, targeting this pawn, but it's well protected now. I trade, and now he's got this pawn on c4 that I can try and go after. I play rook a4. And I'm threatening to take the pawn, and what should he play here? Actually, it's hard for him to defend, isn't it? He should play rook a8 to get some counterplay. And I'm going to take the c-pawn anyway, no matter what he does. So he's going down a pawn at this point, but, well, black can play a little more actively with rook a8. He played f5, trying to counterattack in the center. So I grab this pawn with tempo, queen goes to a5, and then I trade rooks. So the engine did not like that queen a5 move. What is it like? It likes queen d7. Yeah, maybe the queen is a little bit out of play on a5. The move queen a5 makes a lot of sense because it's targeting the c-pawn, and he's going to bring another rook here. So I'm not sure why the engine doesn't approve of this. Let's see. But, well, I don't maintain this kind of advantage, so probably there's an idea I missed here. E takes f5. Okay, I played that. Trying to resolve the situation over here. He went bishop f7. Yeah, okay, I see. One idea is if the queen were on the d7 square instead of over here on a5, it would have allowed him to take back that pawn when the bishop was still there. So okay, so queen a5 actually gives up a pawn. So I'm doing good here. I push on with c4 because I didn't like this pawn being under attack. Even better would be knight f3, just continuing to attack continuing to attack black's pawns rather than trying to defend mine, because this becomes a bit of a target here. Let's see, he goes queen a1 check, king h2, goes rook to b8. So he's activating his pieces, but I am 2 pawns up, and a pretty comfortable position for me. I went rook b3 here, trading things off, and the engine likes knight f3. So yeah, for some reason I didn't think of this, but knight f3 going after his pawn, and rounding that up is probably the best way to proceed. Let's see, so is rook b3 the moment where I give the edge back? No, he still has quite a bit of an edge. He brings his rook here. I go rook to b1, chasing the queen away. I didn't like the queen on the back rank. Queen goes to d4. Yeah, okay, so right around here then. My advantage dropped from 2 points or 3 points down to 1. So starting with this rook b1 move. So once again, doing something with the knight. Knight f3 isn't as effective anymore because the rook is no longer on the e file, but knight to e4 looks like a good move with the knight. And maybe just starting to push this c-pawn after that. Okay, so rook b1, maybe a bit of a defensive move and not entirely necessary. So he goes queen d4, f3, trying to put a stop to this pawn going forward, and also so I didn't have to defend that pawn. Let's see, was there a better move than f3? Yeah, f3 is one of the top choices there. Okay, so all good so far. He goes queen f4 check. Go king h1. Cancel that. I went king h1. Goes queen to d4. And I went rook to c1, piling up behind the pawn and getting ready to push it. And I now have this e4 square secured for my knight as well. It was rook b8. So I guess I did keep an advantage through all this part. Just wavered a little bit, so I wasn't playing cancel that. Oh, I went knight to b3 here. Wasn't playing the most accurate moves all the time. So now the queen can take on c4. Why is that? Because he grabs the rook at the end. I mean the knight. Okay. This is a one slip up then. So if he takes, let's see, if I move the knight away, yeah, my knight is under attack. If I move the knight away, he's just snagged a pawn. If I try to punish him for taking, then my knight is still under attack. I can move the knight away or grab the bishop. So he gets away with grabbing a pawn there. Okay, so that, what was my last move here? My move was knight to b3. That gives up a pawn. So instead of knight b3, cancel that. Instead of knight b3, what should I have played here? Knight to e4 once again. Yeah, at the moment this pawn is not under attack, so if I just am careful about where I put my knight and put it on a safe square, then I'll be able to move that pawn forward. So knight e4 is a good move there. Okay, I went knight b3. He ignored this tactic in winning the pawn. He played queen e3. And, well, I activate my knight, bring it forward. He plays rook to c8, hitting my pawn. I can start pushing the pawn now, c5. He goes bishop to d5, push on with c6. He goes e4, trying to create some activity over here on the against my king. And there are tactics I have to worry about. I say I'll go ahead and take. He takes with the bishop, hitting my queen, and this pawn is pinned, and his queen is threatening to take on h3. So I do have to be careful. But well, I have a check here, so I start with the check, king to f8. And then I have another check here, queen to c5, check, and that gets rid of the queen. So I didn't ever give him time to take on h3 there. And then he just dropped the queen. He needed to trade queens, and it's a winning endgame after he trades queens. I should be okay. For some reason, I guess he didn't notice his queen was under attack. King f7, I grabbed the queen, and that was the end of the game. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting game. Some back and forth, but really black was doing well in that defense until he just surrendered a pawn here on the queen side and didn't get enough compensation for it. Okay, leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.